Hello, everybody.
What's up?
Welcome to Every Rose Has Its Thorn. I'm Stacy,
I'm EJ.
and this is our last episode about this fucking season of The Bachelor.
About this season. We'll be
This
back,
season,
but
we'll
this
be back,
season.
and we're going to talk about that because we are in a better place about this show than we were last time we
Oh, we
talked
good.
about it. But hi everyone, hi Bolshi and Chad and Hammy. I'm really glad you guys are here. I hope that
Yay.
we're gonna talk some shit. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be awesome.
Um,
Um, I
oh,
definitely feel much more excited to talk today than I did the last episode. The last
oh yeah,
episode was it was rough. There was a lot to digest and a lot to go through, and none of it had to do with the show itself.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that what we were talking about, it's not that this episode is not going to be free, like all like happy and exciting, and we are going to be talking about really serious shit. We're going to be talking about still racism in this franchise and et cetera, et cetera. But what's different about today is that most of what we're talking about, at least, is at least touched on in this episode, either in the uh, things that happened
like in the finale itself,
or
or
in the After the Final Rose
yep.
talk special. Is anyone else getting the stream dropping a bunch? Okay. I'm sorry
Oh,
about that bullshit. Though I am at least kind of selfishly happy to hear that it's not on my end because I'm the one streaming this and I did
yeah,
not want
it
to.
looks okay on my end too.
I didn't want to have to troubleshoot right now because that never goes well when I have to troubleshoot on the fly for myself. Um,
Definitely
anyway,
no.
um, so
Uh, Bullshit, real quick, what you can do is go into the like on the gear, like if you hover over the video and you go to quality, change it from uh just change it. Like you might be able to change it to a lower quality so that it's not trying to go through as awesome or
also,
as
side note, I just pulled my work ID out of my pants because I went to the office yesterday for like an actual full work day and it beat me up. I have not been going to the office for full days, pretty much at all, but definitely not like generally not at all. I've been like maybe I was gonna try to go once a week, and I'm going now once a month. Uh, but going yesterday, I got there at 9:30. I meant to get there at 9, and I just got there at 9:30, and I stayed until like 6 ish, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to go back to this so soon. There's something about like not getting to work from pajamas until I'm like fully mentally awake that is very comforting to me.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm still stuck on the fact that you're wearing the same pair of pants today that you wore to the office yesterday. Gross. No, I'm kidding. I'm on day like 4 of the same sweatpants.
I was
So
gonna say, tell me truthfully that you didn't
no,
do that
not at
in the
all.
before times because
Nope.
I
Yep. Nope.
I do not know a single person who doesn't repeat pants.
Oh yeah, many times. I wear pants many times before washing them.
I got an email today telling me to come get my things for the office because I'm listed as a remote employee. Chad, weren't you always a remote employee? Do you have things in the office? I okay. Yes, he was always a
Oh,
yes. Okay, he had a desk. Got it. Okay. Uh, fun fact. I can't actually even remember the name of this, but I know that Chad works with Dred Hockley, and this is just the entirety of my fun fact. They don't work out of the same office. They just work in the same company, and they know each other. I think from like company Slack or something. In addition to roller derby, and Dred tells me this like literally every time that we're at the same event as Chad, because
that's funny.
yeah, and Dred is one of my like he's like my brother in Derby on this coast, and I love him to death, but like he is definitely the kind of person who would be like, I'm gonna tell you this thing that I'm so happy about and so excited to tell you about, even though I've told him to you like 6 times. He's one
Still
of
gonna
those
tell you.
he's one of those like
That's
adorable
cute.
adorable goober nerds.
That's
Yeah.
super cute. I love it.
Anyway, so the show.
Right.
Um I guess, like, really quickly, I don't think that we need to talk about Fantasy Suites for that long, so we are recapping 2 episodes, Fantasy Suites and the finale. Fantasy Suites, like, I don't know, pretty standard. Everyone fucks. Oh, you know what? Actually, the start of it.
Everybody.
The start of it. The start of it's actually important. The dad bullshit.
Oh, yes, the dad bullshit.
I wanted to block that out, and I
AKA the most exploitive,
yeah, it was really fucked up. I mean, the
really
only
irresponsibly
the
framed.
only thing that would have made it worse was if Matt hadn't known it was coming. Like if Matt had been surprised, walked into a room and been surprised at seeing his dad.
Right. That's kind of the only thing that would have made it worse, which is
Um,
honestly what I
Me
thought
too.
they
I
were
thought they
gonna
were gonna
do.
do it, and then I was like,
I thought they were
oh,
gonna blindside him.
oh, they invited him. This is fine. And then it like played out in this like weird like Matt wants to reconcile with his father to heal the wounds of et cetera before he gets engaged or before he continues in relationships. And it just his dad was like, why the fuck are you doing this to me on TV? Also, we haven't talked in like however many years. And
Also, his dad was definitely brought there under different pretenses, right? He
his
said, like, oh, they told me I was here for like a celebration. I thought we were celebrating you and like not
right
trying.
his dad was like totally caught off guard.
Yep.
And like I am happy for Matt that he got to talk to his dad about something that he probably needed, whatever like fucked up version of therapy the show is not really doing, to realize he needed or whatever. However, like it played into all these like awful stereotypes of absentee black fathers. And
Yes. Sorry,
sorry.
I was laughing at Gritty, not at the statement. Just
Yeah,
I need to be clear about that.
no, it's fine. I also Gritty has so I have a tiny apartment. Gritty has 3 different cat towers. Basically, one real cat tower, one that looks like a unicorn. It's this thing, and one that is like an over the door cloth hanger, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
tunnel, and he just like can run up and down it, and that's why it was making noise because he was running up and down in his cloth tube. Uh,
Oh, Gritty.
yeah, it's fine. He just likes to get zoomy when I'm on calls. You know,
Right.
cats.
Yeah. Anyway, uh yeah, the whole conversation was just framed in not a great way. And it was clear that yeah, his dad really was not expecting to have that
It
conversation. And
was.
like also I'm also not convinced that Matt actually felt like he needed that conversation,
Oh,
right? Like it was pretty clear that I felt like producers and showrunners the whole time were probably telling him, no, you need to do this,
oh,
and
I'm
like
sure
probably
he was
convinced him.
manipulated into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was not good. Also, like from the way Matt even was tweeting about it the night
Afterwards.
of, like
Yeah.
during the episode, Matt is tweeting in this way that you're like, oh, he's not happy.
Right. And like all the things he had to say, and I don't have his exact words in
It,
front of me right now, but it was definitely along the lines of like, hey, this in conversation lacks a lot of context and a lot of context around like the different dynamics at play when it comes to like absent fathers, and like here's a bunch of reading to do so that you can be more
and
appropriately informed watching
and
this.
like my dad and I, like obviously I am much closer to my mom. My dad and I don't have a great relationship, but he is still a huge part of me, and please don't use this as an excuse to hate him or say racist shit basically. um and that was like, I think that was the moment that I think should have clued us into how this past week's episode was going to go, because it was a more serious Matt. It wasn't like the Tyler Cameron bro golfing and being a shithead
Right.
dude that even we got on social media at the beginning of the season. It
It's just a
was
much more aware and present person than we're used to seeing.
and I think in part because it's not that he hasn't lived these things his entire life. It's just that he hasn't been on he hasn't had such a large platform his whole life, and he didn't get eased into it as a contestant. He started out as a lead. Um anyway,
Right.
fantasy suites themselves, like whatever. Matt did that thing where he had the same speech to every girl. Where he was like, "I need to tell you about how I worked through these things with my dad, and isn't that interesting?" Because he has like 3 moves, uh,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
which is kind of funny, honestly, but that's a different story. And then let's see, Michelle got the Pennsylvania Dutch traditional spa date.
Oh my
Is
God.
this completely made up? I don't know, but they bathed each other in milk and butter,
I just can't. I can't.
which
I can't.
honestly, better than the date that Brie got, because Brie got the date where they were hiking out into the middle of like some like Nemacolin cornfield, like not even a real serious hike. And then they were like, "Okay, we're setting up the tents. This is our fantasy suite," and it was a joke.
Even the whole time she was like, I don't know why they keep putting me on these outdoor dates because I'm the least outdoorsy person ever. And it's like, stop saying that. That's exactly why they're putting you on these
Oh,
dates.
absolutely. And then
Like,
her profile on the website was like, Brie likes the outdoors, and afterwards people on the internet were like, "Why?" She said this and that, and I was like, "She's from the Bay Area. She likes the outdoors in the way that people in the Bay Area like the outdoors. She likes the off-roading in a car. She likes hiking in Muir Woods. Like, this is not hiking, like packing out into the middle of nowhere and building your tent.
right.
This is day trips where you maybe go for walks and then glamp."
Also, you could definitely see the highway behind them. Like they were not in nature. You could see like a highway and buildings behind them. They like literally just found like some trees in a clearing and they were like,
And then
sure.
anyway, Rachel had the requisite someone has a meltdown about the dude they're dating fucking other women, and
Right.
she did the like it was like a very like I know like not everybody here, obviously most people here aren't listening to Game of Roses, but like they said it's the highest level gameplay of a fantasy suite that they'd seen, and like
Right.
it was just like a very textbook 3 different ways of going through the fantasy suites, and just put together. But it was also very clear that it was going to be Rachel and Michelle moving on. Bree and Matt had decent sexual chemistry and like not really actually any romantic chemistry. Um,
Hmm.
and still Rachel was the only one who got more than a "thank you for sharing that with me" to an "I love you."
Right. And it's still just like they definitely make it seem, and the narrative surrounding that is very like the only reason he even like feels that way appears to be because of when she like hit the ground on their
Right.
hometown date so
When he
hard.
was like worried about her getting hurt. And he says
Right.
that. He was like
He says it
he
repeatedly.
he was like seeing her get hurt made me realize I didn't want to lose her. Like, fuck, dude. Go get therapy. By the way, he's aware that he needs therapy. Just, he's tweeted it.
Right.
He, like, literally. But, oh, buddy. Like, I don't know. These past 2 episodes made me feel for him even more. Like, really and truly.
Yeah.
But then we get to the
Um
finale.
yeah. In the finale, right? So the outcome of Fantasy Suites is Bree ends up going home, which again, like yeah. And so now we're left with Michelle and Rachel, which no one is surprised by.
So, They both meet Matt's mom and brother. By the way, I'll try to put this on our Instagram. Matt's brother has a YouTube channel. He sings. He's an R&B artist. He has like some actually like pretty damn catchy music. Go give him some views. Uh,
That's cool.
uh, Matt's brother is like so clearly over the entire thing. He's like, I love you, so I'm here. This is bullshit. This is
Pretty
dumb.
much. Yep.
Like, it's all over his face. And honestly, to some degree, Matt's mom is too. Except for she's like, I'm traumatized because the person I fell in love with didn't love me back. So I'm going to tell you that love is fake.
Right. Right. It's about like and the whole thing kind of comes unraveled from Matt's perspective because he so obviously is just wanting his mom to say to him, hey, just because it didn't work out between me and your dad doesn't mean that this couldn't work out for you. But instead, what she says is, well, love's not permanent. So
And like,
shrug.
and also kind of like, I think implicit is, no, it's not that easy. Love isn't enough. You have to actually work at this and work through your shit and not just be, you have to
Right.
get, like, for this to work for you. And what she doesn't say, because she loves him and she's not going to embarrass him on TV, I think in the background of it is also like, you're still a frat boy. Like, I love you. I don't think that you need to be past your frat boy stage. You're 28, but like, for you to get what you want, you need to be in a different place in your life. For you to have these things that you say that you want, which I actually do believe that Matt clearly loves kids. Like, anytime you see him interact with kids, he is like over the fucking moon. So I feel
Yeah.
like Matt actually like truly wants to be a dad. And I know 28 is definitely 10 times to be past frat boy. But he has time to not be past frat boy too. Is the thing. It's like, yes, he absolutely could be past frat boy, but like, who the fuck cares? It's a pandemic. All his friends are immature. Like, he could still like do everything that he wants and not be past his frat boy shit. He needs to go to therapy before he can get past his frat boy shit. Like,
Yes.
he needs to go to therapy before he can do the things that he wants to be doing. I think he's aware of that now. Anyway, but point, like, he can't go into his first serious relationship and have kids and then be the dad that he didn't get to have growing up. And his mom is like trying to say that to him and also trying to be like, we're on TV.
Well, and I think it gets to him though, is like, and we don't necessarily see it, but the way he reacts to that one
Mm,
statement, like they definitely cut a bunch of stuff. Like I bet she did say all that stuff, we just didn't get to see it.
yeah.
And I think part of that is because it's not, like again, like to steal a phrase from the Game of Roses podcast, it's not for TRR. So
Well, it's not in service of the
it's not in service
message.
of the show.
It's not in service.
Yeah.
They would say it's not in service of the game, but it's not in service of the message that this show is trying to put out, that the process works. Because what she's saying is the process is inherently flawed because because love at first sight doesn't work. That is
Right,
not
because you
enough.
will fall out of love. It's not enough, right?
Right. And then you
And
have
it gets to him, right? And it gets to him in a big way. We leave that conversation with his mom, and uh he like goes and breaks up with Michelle.
Yeah, and side note, like, everybody likes Michelle better than they like Rachel. They don't dislike Rachel. Rachel does perfectly fine, polite parent, and Michelle just fucking kills it. Michelle
Yep.
is Michelle is like the kind of contestant we don't deserve on this show. Like, truly, really and truly, like, I feel like that's like such a cliche statement, but
But it's true.
she's either like the an Oscar worthy actress or she's like actually super into this process and loving Matt and sweet, and she does a really good job talking to his brother and talking to his mom and answering weird questions and just being like, I love your family, I want to be part of this. It's like at one point she says like, yeah, the trauma he's been through, like, it means that I know he's going to appreciate having a good, strong home life and family even more than someone who didn't get to have that in their life because he won't take it for granted. And I was like, oh, that's such a good answer to a mother.
Yeah.
And whatever, we don't need to talk about Rachel that long. And then he breaks up with Michelle because he's freaking the fuck out. And it's almost like so obvious that, like, Michelle was the engagement. Of the two options, Michelle was the engagement. And Rachel was the I'm okay if we keep dating instead of getting engaged.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. So like, and I think the thing is Michelle almost did too good of a job
Mm-hmm.
at like explaining what their life could be and what their life could look like. And I think he genuinely wanted those things, and he may have even wanted them with Michelle, but the fact that she was able to so clearly state it and so clearly be like, I'm here, balls in your court, dude. And he freaked out. And he didn't have that like fear of losing her the way that he already did with Rachel because of that, like, skydiving thing. And yeah, so like it was really devastating. And that also came immediately after she like gave him this like really cute present of like they're like these like matching basketball jerseys that like on the back of his said like Mr. James and hers said Mrs. James, and it
And
was it
side
was
note,
cute.
she was like from what I understand, like a pretty decent NCAA basketball player.
Yeah.
So this is also like sharing something of herself that we never
Hmm.
got to really learn in the show, but you know.
Right. Yeah, they didn't talk about that at all.
Mm.
Yet when what's her face? Madison, that's like all they talked about with Madison, and all they featured with her on Peter's season was the fact that she was this like she played basketball.
We don't need to talk about Maddie Pruitt.
No, just an interesting parallel.
Oh, you mean that
Oh, that it's significant that the
that white ladies on this show get to be people and women of color don't get real storylines?
other than look at how good of a teacher she is. I'm very excited for, well, we'll get there. We'll
We'll
get
get
there.
there.
We'll get there.
Anyway, Matt is so distressed after this that he refuses to see Rachel the next day. Which, honestly, like, she doesn't have a complete meltdown over, which is the move. It's the correct move. She made the correct move.
Right. It's still pretty fucked up that they sent Chris Harrison to just say like, he needs time, which they did on purpose. Like I highly
Oh,
doubt Matt like didn't like Matt probably would have been just fine like even like writing her a letter, just
but
something that
not
came from
even
him.
right. He would have also because he's not a monster. Like
No.
also
No.
also when she opens the door to Chris Harrison, he's like leaning on the window. He's like,
He's like,
"Hey,
sup.
Rach. Hey, Rach." And I'm like, "Oh, this is gross."
Yeah.
Like maybe this is why he like got into trouble defending Confederate Rachel. He could literally be her dad. Just
Yeah. That's,
just throwing that out there. And also he has a position of power over her in a way that 25-year age difference feels
He,
inappropriate in that context.
I did draw I don't
Devil
know if you can
horns.
see it, but I drew some like devil horns and shit on my Chris Harrison candle.
I had to do that. Okay. Integrity.
Anyway.
Anyway, in the end, Matt does not propose to Rachel, but says, "Let's leave together. I love you. Let's keep dating. Let's commit to each other."
Right.
Which he gets a lot of shit from Chris Harrison for, and I wish the show ended like that more often. I truly wish the show ended like that more often
Right.
because it's more honest. You know, like
And it's
JoJo and Jordan got re-engaged 2 years later.
Yeah. And well, that's the thing is, it's like, it really isn't unheard of in the context of this show to leave without an engagement, right? Like, it's happened. It's not something that happens like super often, but like
Right.
it happens enough that it's not exactly shocking when it happens. And I'm not sure, you would know better than me. I'm not sure if like Chris Harrison in those instances puts the same amount of pressure on those contestants that he did to Matt James, and because that was something that stuck out to me as like weird and kind of out of the norm for the show, was just the degree to which Chris Harrison was like, are you sure, because the whole point is that you get engaged.
I think that the other dudes who did it were savvier players and knew that if they said these things to producers or to Chris Harrison, that someone would try to convince them otherwise.
Yeah.
And then that would be the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, it's a let's have a conversation about this in the fantasy suite and like when we can't be heard and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like literally the show started. Alex Michelle, the first season, didn't propose. That's like the foundation everything was built on. That's a sign. Anyway,
Right.
um, so it ends, and we flash forward to the After the Final Rose special. Here's the thing about After the Final Rose, it's usually, along with Women Tell All, one of the worst episodes of the season. This time, I was really mad that we only got an hour of it. Like, genuinely upset.
Right.
They cut out so much. And part of it,
And
so
they also usually do a live finale, which they couldn't because COVID, but like usually we see a live finale followed by an After the Final Rose, which means like it's like the tell all, and like each segment of the finale is aired in between like interview segments or Chris Harrison
right.
or who, hosting a thing, and like other contestants are there. They bring in people for interviews, and like there's an energy about the finale that like was not there this time. And then the After the Final Rose was fantastic.
So part of it was that Chris Harrison was not allowed to host After the Final Rose. It was Emmanuel Ocho, who is a sportscaster, former NFL player. His runs the YouTube channel / wrote a book called Difficult Conversations with a Black Man.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and basically, he has made it his career now to be uh, the a black man who challenges white people's racism directly and has conversations about racism targeted at white people.
Yeah, he's great. A big fan.
And
Big fan.
like even without all of this, even without Chris Harrison being showing his own ass this season and getting himself booted off the show, he would have absolutely a million times over been the wrong person to host this episode. And like,
Definitely. Even without
even if he wasn't a racist fuckwad,
right.
um,
But yeah, he brought a different energy to the whole thing, and I think he was able to have conversations that
mm-hmm.
Chris Harrison definitely wouldn't have been able to have. And like, he really didn't let up.
Oh no,
it
I
was
mean,
it was it was good.
takeaways though. So Michelle's a fucking rock star.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she's so good. She's so good at the show. Oh my god. What would you say to Matt? Like, would you say that you're still in love with Matt? Um, you know, I'm not. I'm no longer in love in the same way, but I still have a lot of love for the time that we spent together and care about him deeply. And also, then she made fun of him a little bit, and it was like the perfect answer.
Uh-huh.
The perfect.
Everything she said was perfect.
Oh, gosh, y'all. And then, they had a conversation, and apparently she asked to talk to Matt to have a brief conversation, and she explicitly had said, I don't want to persuade him to take me back. And really
This was
sounds.
during the show filming
Yeah, yeah.
still.
And it really, the way that they were talking about it, really sounds like producers didn't tell Matt the full thing that she was saying to them. They probably just said, "Oh, Michelle wants to talk. I bet she wants to take you to take her back."
Yep. And so of course Matt being like, "Nope, I was pretty clear, so no."
Mm-hmm.
But then Michelle being like, "No, I needed closure. There were things I needed to say to him," and she got to say all of those things,
Mm-hmm.
which was really great.
Mm-hmm. Uh,
Mm.
yep. And then we get Rachel. So Rachel is asked to talk about everything that's come up. They show the picture of her at the plantation party, and she's asked to talk about it. And she starts out by saying, "She is Rachel has gotten the most PR coaching I've ever seen of a non-lead on this show." Uh, But she starts out by saying that she doesn't want her to make herself the victim, that she wants to have a good conversation. She does want to make herself the victim, but that's a different story. Um, and they have what is a like pretty good, uh, rehearsed but pretty decent like conversation about why what Rachel did was wrong. And what I think stuck out in that conversation that's probably pretty relevant to later was when Emmanuel Alcho asks her, like, were you ever worried about these pictures coming to light? Because people do deep dives and basically people do a lot of research on contestants and say all kinds of things. Were you worried that someone was going to uncover these pictures? And she very honestly said, no, I didn't even think about it. It didn't
Yeah.
even occur to me.
It didn't even occur to me that this would have potentially been a problem. Because at no point in time, and she admits this, she says it, she's like, at no point in time did I question why we were wearing those kinds of dresses or why the party was themed that way or like what what it actually meant.
Right?
And she very openly is like, I was ignorant. I didn't even consider another option. And that was wrong. And that's on me. I should have considered it. And I didn't.
So, what made me upset about how Rachel was doing things was actually, yeah, and it must be nice.
Right.
I mean, honestly, like, it was like one of those things where it's like, I feel like as a white person, I've never, like, I feel like it wouldn't have occurred, it wouldn't, wouldn't have realized that people didn't know that was fucked up. And some of that is like my own privileged bubble of growing up in New York. Absolutely. Like, at least when I was younger, not now and not for like the past like 10 years, but like, just like, she's clearly like living on her own, like, ignorant planet. And this actually pretty flows in nicely to the conversation that she has with Matt, I think, which is Matt broke up with her. Matt had been trying, Matt was really in love with her, and when stuff started coming out, he was like, I just want it to not be true. And then when she put out her apology was when he was like, I can't do this. This is fucked up. I can't do this. And what he eventually said was like, what hurt me the most was how much I had to keep explaining to you why this was hurtful to me. That you had to
Mm-hmm.
keep thinking about it and keep working to think about it. And then I realized that you wouldn't, if we had kids together, you wouldn't understand what that meant for them. You wouldn't understand the things that they would be experiencing in the world.
Right. And there's like, and he's like, and for us to be truly like intimate and partners, you need to at least understand and acknowledge what my existence in
Right.
this world has been like as a black man. And you just, not only do you not understand, you never even considered it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like,
And it was like,
yeah,
EJ and I were talking about this before the show. It's like, it is a very, like, it is a padded at the end of the day, it was like a padded racism 101 conversation, very much targeted at
White people.
moderate to conservative white ladies who have never thought about this a day in their lives. But, like, the fact that the show is, like, finally forcing these people to listen to these conversations, I don't know. It felt like a big thing that couldn't have been accomplished with Chris Harrison anywhere near the show.
For sure. Yeah, you can't have the conversation in the way that Emmanuel was able to have the conversation, in the way that Emmanuel was able to kind of break things down and explain it. And like you said, this is something that he's kind of like made this a big part of his career at this point, is to have those conversations specifically to educate white people, which is like, well, a something that like he shouldn't have to do, but
Mm-hmm.
he's doing it, he's taken it on. And I think seeing him interview Rachel and Matt the way that he did, and the way that that conversation went, i I think actually did a whole lot of good, as far as like potentially changing specifically white women's minds and behaviors around the topics in a way that maybe wouldn't have happened otherwise.
So I'll get to the response in a second. I think that there's one more thing that we need to talk about, which is, and some of this is like Acha's given questions that are clearly from producers. And he basically asks, like, is there any chance of reconciliation between the two of you? And Rachel is like putting on those like giant white girl tears and touching Matt's leg and being like, I love you so much. I don't think I'll ever fall in love again. Like, please forgive me. And Matt is basically like, I don't think you're a bad person. I think that you are going to be able to get to a place where you don't do this to someone else. And also, I am too hurt and we cannot be together.
Yeah, and also that's on you.
Yeah. And like,
I can't do that work for you. You have work to do, and I'm not going to sit here for it.
yeah. And like, I was just like, it was like, from everything, it was like it really was like one of the first times where I've been like, oh, okay, so Matt's gonna be okay. Matt is now knows what he actually needs from relationships and knows how to articulate those things for himself. And that's like fucking hard for everybody to be able to say, this is what I need from a relationship. This is what my absolute like hard no's are. And now Matt, who again, like, it literally was tweeting during the show, like, Google therapist near me. Um, like, literally tweeted that during the show. But he's right. Like, now he knows what he can't stand for in a relationship and what not to get trapped in because it's what's been expected of him.
Mm-hmm. And also conversations that need to be had beforehand,
Yeah.
like
And, like, so in terms of response, like, it's hard to say because the people who talk about the show on the internet already feel some kind of way about this show and already have strong opinions for the most part. You have like the Rachel stands who are saying how evil it was that Matt didn't take her back. There was a Rachel Kirkconnell Facebook group, fans of Rachel, we stand with Rachel Facebook group that got put together. Her mother was an admin on it. By the way, her mother's initials are KKK. Just it was just like extra layer of like bullshit. But apparently, as soon as Rachel found out about this, she chose this. Like, it's literally, she chose this. It's because her middle name was looked like it was her maiden name. She like literally chose those initials for herself. Um, but
is her first name Karen?
it was like no, but that would be too
uh,
much. Um, but apparently Rachel herself to some degree shut that down. She got her mom to completely remove herself from the Facebook group, and is apparently trying to get it completely shut down because she was like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Okay, like you don't get any props for that, but at least you have that." Because, and then some people were mad at Matt for not talking to Michelle, but I think that that's like very much, it's like very much a group of people who want to believe that the show is real and want to hold on to the realness of the show. And in that context, Matt chose not to talk to Michelle rather than Matt not having all the information he needed to have that conversation with Michelle. And like, that's different. I think that people are generally conflicted about a lot of things because it felt like the people that I listened to have been talking about how it felt like an important episode and important things happened, and also it's not enough and it doesn't fully make up for all of the shit that happened this season and all of the ways
not even close.
So like it's a very like complicated thing, but like is hopefully a sign that we don't need to stop watching this show. And I think that that's like, for the most part, people I've talked to are like, we're tired, we need a break. And also, I'm no longer on the brink of saying, I have to stop watching this show. It so doesn't match with the ethics and things that I hold in my heart, and it's not fun anymore. It can't be escapism. Like, this isn't fun.
Right. That's definitely where we were on our last episode when we talked about this. We were just like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And like it just and that's what a lot of Bachelor Nation was saying, right? We are far from the only people having that reaction. But you know, I think that like this conversation, Chris Harrison stepping down, they announced that Caitlin Bristow and Tayshia Adams are going to be the new kind of like co-hosts.
Oh, they keep saying not hosts. They are stepping in to help for a season.
I wonder if they're going to do the thing that they're currently doing with Jeopardy, whereas like for like a chunk of time it's like a different host, and then they move on to a different host,
like,
and then they move on to a different host.
Why does the show doesn't even really need a host? Like
it doesn't.
Here, at least like with Jeopardy, they're doing this because like Alex Trebek was truly the heart and soul of that show. And like Chris Harrison is not the heart and soul of The Bachelor. Chris Harrison's like the weird racist demon on the shoulder of The Bachelor. Like
Dark Lord Harrison.
Like,
you know?
Like it's not like you don't even need to replace him. You do need someone who can moderate episodes like after the final rose, but we've already proven that you can bring someone in to do that. Anyway, I also think that I'm excited for the Tayshia and Caitlin dynamic because it's going to be a very much like this is what Game of Roses calls Council of Crowns, but like it's going to be a two former bachelorettes who Tayshia is engaged. Caitlin was with the dude that she got engaged to for 2.5 years and is now in a relationship with a different dude from Bachelor Nation. They both have successful influencer careers, like whatever. They're going to be able to be the like, look, we can give you our like experienced bachelorette sisterly advice thing. And brings us to our bachelorette announcement. So they are going to do 2 seasons of The Bachelorette instead of 1. The first season's going to be Katie. Then there's going to be a season of Paradise. And then there's going to be a season with Michelle. And to some degree, this is absolutely reactionary, them trying not to get in trouble because they absolutely were about to start shooting with Katie before the Chris Harrison interview, and then they were like, oh shit, we're gonna get in trouble for taking a white girl who came in like 11th place and making her the lead.
Yep.
Which they should. And it's like they should, and also I really enjoy Katie. I enjoy her character. I think that she is entertaining on the internet. I like her. It is also probably because she is, as a liberal white girl living in a major city who likes to make TikToks about pooping her pants. She is the person I relate to. I
Right.
know.
It's like the sex positivity bringing a sex toy into
Yeah.
like it.
I want her to
Yeah,
have.
I really like her.
I want sex outside the fantasy suites. I want obvious sex outside the fantasy suites.
It's not gonna
Give
happen.
me. Caitlin Bristow did it, and she got shit for it. I want Katie to do it without getting shit,
Yeah.
or with standing up for herself when she does get shit. Either way.
Was it obvious on the show? Because
No,
so
no,
that's
no.
another
Wait,
thing we're talking about.
no. Like it was very obvious. She brought Nick Vial back to her room. They closed the door, and then the cameras don't follow them in, but you hear her moaning. Like it was obvious, and there were repercussions throughout the entire season that she took Nick
Oh,
back to
okay.
her room.
Okay. Got
Yeah.
it. Got it.
Uh,
More of that.
I want more of that. Cause
Um,
like, are you gonna get engaged to someone you fuck once?
no.
No.
Hell no.
What?
I wouldn't even date someone for that long without having sex with them.
No.
Like
Six.
how long are they actually dating on the
Like
show before
like a full
fantasy
season?
suites?
Like probably like between 4 and 6 weeks. Yeah, that's a long time.
At least it's got to be more than that. It's got to be longer than that.
Well, uh, let's say fantasy suites are their third one-on-one date.
I guess.
Like,
I guess if you frame it that way, but still
yeah.
like the amount of time that they
Oh, I
I
agree
don't
with
know.
you.
It just seems like yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Hell, half the time I have to have sex with you before I'll date you.
All right,
Like
well,
I need to
half the
know.
time. Like,
Not all
yeah,
the time. Not all the time, but some of the time.
if I'm living in the same place as someone,
Some of the time.
probably a higher percentage of the time,
Right.
probably
Yeah.
higher than half.
Yeah. Right. It's a scheduling's a thing.
Yeah.
You know. Um yeah.
Uh,
Anyway, I'm still very excited and I think it's the right choice to pick, to have Michelle. Even if it's reactionary, at the end of
we
the
still
day,
get
it's still what
Michelle,
was picked. We still get Michelle. We still
and
get another season.
and also, honestly, like, I am so sick of male leads of the show right now.
They're
Like,
terrible.
they're all so bad. I
They're
mean,
bad
like,
at the game.
so like,
They're
and then even when they're good at the game, they're slimy. Like, so let's see, we have Matt who was set up for failure. Let's like not hold that against him, but he was set up for failure as a lead. He
Mhm.
was. Um, Before that, we had Pilot Pete, who's the literal like dictionary definition of a weenie.
Which is so I'm because I liked him so much.
When he was just the guy that had sex in a windmill a few times,
4 times.
4 times, 2 times.
I
No, really,
really
it was
liked
4.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
I
didn't.
really liked him on Hannah B's
I
season,
wouldn't say
but
that I really liked him, but I didn't dislike him. And when
I
it
guess he
was,
was my favorite of the
yeah,
people left at that point.
though I did fall for Tyler C a little bit. I did fall for the Tyler C facade a little bit, the fake feminist thing. When it wasn't Mike Johnson, and I was like,
I was
well,
about to say Mike Johnson was the
oh,
actual
yeah, but when it wasn't
best
Mike
one.
Johnson, and it was like, okay, the show is fucking racist still. Then it was like then it was like, okay, well, they could have picked a worse boring white dude. No, they couldn't have.
Right? And then he
It
was so bad.
he was such a bad lead.
He was such a bad lead.
And then
He was such a bad lead.
and then before
They brought
him,
his parents in too much. Anyway,
weird relationship with
before
his
him.
mom, weird Oedipal thing. Before them, we got Colton, who we already knew was going to be a fucking mess anyway. Turned out to be worse than we thought he was because he's literally a fucking stalker. Which, again, we should have known when he jumped over a fence because he had a tantrum that someone left early. And then begged her begged her to take him back. Should have known. But anyway, so that happened. And then before that, we had Ari, who could have been worse on the show. He was like a very malleable lead on the show. And then he dumped Becca in front of the cameras after he had already texted Lauren to be like, if I dump Becca, will you take me back and can we get engaged? And then before that, we had Nick Viall, who is a good game player, but a slimy fucker.
Wait, who was it? Who was it that, like, you said that he, like, switched? He, like, changed his mind? Ari did that?
And
I
so
thought someone else did that.
Jason Mesnick also did that.
I was gonna say, because there was one season where, like, I didn't watch Ari's season.
It's happened twice. Okay. So, side note, only one Bachelor has ever married his final choice, his final one. Only one Bachelor. That's Sean Lowe. There are two Bachelors who have dumped the woman that they got engaged to within a few months of the show and then gotten engaged to their runner-up. And both of them are married to their runners-up with kids.
I feel, man, okay, I really feel like I saw this happen at a season I actually watched, because I didn't watch.
Jason.
Okay, Jason. I need to see a picture of Jason.
So anyway, basically what I'm saying is, to some degree, I am excited for 2 seasons of female leads, because when I say that if I were to tell you that I like The Bachelor better than The Bachelorette, it would only be because there are more women on The Bachelor than there are on The Bachelorette. But with, like, honestly, looking back at it, there is no recent Bachelorette that I'm super mad at. Like,
yeah.
Like, they were all at least entertaining. And, like, I think JoJo is a conservative lady with, like, shit-tasted men, but she put on an entertaining season. And
right, yeah, and I was excited for Claire for a minute, but then wasn't. But also, she definitely wasn't set up for success by any stretch.
Yeah, but then Tayshia was such a good Bachelorette. Anyway, basically what I'm saying is, like, I am genuinely excited to see both Katie and Michelle for the different things that they bring to the show. And I really hope that I am not going to be disappointed by it, because we're going to get Katie being our, like, Caitlin Bristow 2.0. She's going to be the sex positive, loud, crass. Like, she has a big TikTok comedy following. Girl. And then, but she's 30 and she's a homeowner and a cat mom and lives in Seattle. Like, she's not also got that whole, like, are you really into this for what are you doing thing.
Right.
Like, not that I think anybody isn't on the show for fame. It's just, like,
everybody's on the show for some degree of fame.
Right. And then
every single person.
And then we get Michelle, who has, like, probably the best For the Right Reasons story of anyone in years. Like, oh my God. She is gorgeous and a school teacher and a former college athlete, and her parents are perfect, and she just wants to meet a dude and fall in love and have kids and bring someone into her fucking perfect family. And that is, like, literally, like, the fairy tale that The Bachelor wants to pretend it is.
Yes, exactly.
And like, Michelle is that.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%.
And we're gonna get it sandwiched between both of our favorite thing that The Bachelor does, which is Bachelor in Paradise, because Bachelor in Paradise is when The Bachelor stops pretending to be anything remotely realistic or classy, and is just like, get drunk on the beach and fuck each other.
Yeah, right. Get drunk on the beach and fuck each other, and we're gonna consistently change it up by always adding and removing different
And we're
people
gonna try to
and
obviously fuck with your relationships, and also
definitely.
they also get to spend more time with each other, so there are actually more successful relationships that have come out of Paradise than the
Yeah.
show.
Well, yeah, because they're
Because
all just stuck together all the time instead of always having the contestants separated.
right, and like yeah, Paradise is like 2 or 3 weeks long. It's not long, the filming, but they are literally just stuck on this hot ass beach where they don't turn the air
Yeah.
conditioning on in the bedrooms. So you go to the beach and you go to the pool and you're literally just together all day.
Mm-hmm. They got a bartender that's just there all the time.
So
Yeah. So that's gonna be it's gonna be interesting. Although to be honest, if Victoria is on it longer than like an episode or two, I really don't know if I can do it.
I can't. Can you
'Cause
imagine her being on for more than like 2 or 3 episodes though?
no, not unless she was just like a completely different person, which
No,
which I
she's
have seen happen before.
yes.
Like who was it? Oh, I forgot her name, but she was the one who like was she was portrayed on the season that she was on as being just like an absolute space cadet.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think she may have been on Chris Soule's season, maybe.
Uh
The
huh.
grapefruit, the one that was like, is this a pomegranate or a grapefruit? Do you
Oh
know
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah.
when she was on Paradise, I was like, who is this person? I actually like you.
Oh
Um,
yeah. No. Fuck. What's I couldn't even picture her.
what's her name? I can picture her, but I don't remember her name. Was it Chris Soule's
Yeah, it
season?
was Crystal's season, right? It was.
I'm
It
gonna
was.
look it up. I'm
It
gonna
was
look it
either
up.
Chris or Ben. I think it was
Yeah,
Chris.
I think it was.
I mean, also you got people. Yeah, Paradise is fun. And if you're interested in watching anything Bachelor wise, I would probably suggest starting. I would almost suggest starting with that, though I understand if you want to start with a season where you actually get a narrative.
Starting with saying starting with Paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason I would say to not do that is because for me at least, most of the enjoyment of Paradise is watching these people I recognize
That's true.
be different. And like that's not to say that like anyone who didn't know the people couldn't also enjoy it. It's just there's so much context that the show just relies on the fact that you probably already know who these people are.
Yeah.
And they kind of take that for granted.
Mm-hmm.
uh but yeah.
Gritty.
uh,
Gritty is back in his carrier, just lying there. Oh, his ear's twitching. He's like deep asleep.
I'm staring at the contestant list from Crystal's season, and I have no idea which one of
I know what she looks like.
Yeah, I know what she looks like, but this isn't like a picture. I'm gonna find it.
Okay, wait. It's an onion. Onion. Chris
Oh, yeah.
Souls. Ashley Salter. Ashley S.
There we go. I was gonna say I'm pretty sure her name was also Ashley.
They're always named Ashley.
Yeah, yeah, Ashley S. Because there's Ashley I and Ashley S.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh. Okay.
Anyway, thanks for going on that adventure with me. I had to know.
So what we were thinking was in the interim, because Katie's season isn't going to start airing till May. I don't know when we'll start this, but we were thinking about doing a watch party of some kind of Caitlin Bristow's season, both to get us ready for watching her be a co-host, not host, but also because it is a pretty damn like classic season of this show.
Yeah,
And
I never watched that season.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. It is like
Yeah.
it is like it's not
I just have to get over the Brit bullshit because that was the thing that made me not watch it.
Oh, it starts out with some bullshit and it
Yep.
continues with there is other bullshit in the season, but like there's something about it, like it is a good way to understand what this show is about when it's not at its absolute worst. And this I'm saying this because it's not hiding Oh, who's that? Did we get a cattail or did we get like a?
This is a Freya. She's
Oh,
just
hi,
like
Freya.
decided to be.
I know
I,
she's
I
normally
can't tell.
hiding.
I know. I don't have my own camera up on the screen. I just see you, so I don't know what you can see.
Just her tail.
Just a cattail butt.
Uh,
Um, she's taken to like purring directly into my microphone while I'm in meetings, which I'm definitely not mad about. Uh,
oh.
she's
Yeah,
my baby.
Gritty will just sit on the keyboard if I'm in a meeting for too long. Ah.
Yeah, see, look, I'll tilt my camera down because she's just
Hi, Freya.
very interested in my microphone.
Yeah, Gritty is not interested in my new microphone, but he really likes my old one because he likes to chew on it. I don't know if you can see the teeth marks. Which I don't. Oh, I heard it. Hey, Gritty. Gritty.
Just like end the show
Come
with
here.
some cute kitties.
Yeah, he's asleep in the thing. I'm not gonna go bother him.
Uh,
But here is a portrait of him. And
I definitely have like a little. Oh, where is it?
the Gritty Kitty merch.
I don't know where it is right now, but I do. I have some gritty merch. I got a little gritty.
The button.
I have a button and I have a. It's like a little charmy thing.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
like
yeah.
that picture. Looks like a shrinky dink or something.
Yes. Okay. Thank you everyone for being here.
Yes, thank you.
I'm excited to show you what we have next. When we do some watch party stuff, we're going to figure out a way for you to be just as
A part of it.
involved as we are. And, well, I guess we'll see you sometime soon.
Season 25 is over.
Yes, thank God.
Yay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks for watching, friends.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.